Hi, boys and girls. I wanted to work with you today on Lesson 8, Listening and Speaking. We're going to be reading about cold-blooded scaly vertebrates. Now, one thing that I want to practice with you today is how to determine the meaning of an unknown word. Basically, what should you do if you don't know a word that you come across in your reading? Well, you might have some strategies that you picked up from second grade, like when you find an unknown word in a story, maybe you keep reading. You might ask a teacher or your parents what the word means if you're reading with them. You could ask a classmate what a word means. Maybe you look it up in a dictionary or you Google it on the internet. So these are all strategies that you can use to figure out a word. Now today, I want to have you practice using context clues and make predictions so that you can figure out the meaning of unknown words all by yourself. It's not always going to be easy, but it will get you in the habit of making predictions about those words so that you can get back to your reading quicker. And pretty soon, you'll learn lots of new words. So, let me talk about making a prediction. You know that when you find a word in the text, you can look for clues near the word. So you can find the words that you know around the unknown word. You can look at other words in the sentence. You can look at words near the unknown word to give you clues. And you also know lots of ways of breaking words apart into smaller pieces. So you can look for a root word maybe. Those are all things we're going to be practicing today. So I want to show you this chart. And I've also got a copy of this in the back of the classroom. So different ways that you can use context clues to figure out a word you don't know. You can go to the glossary, look in the back of the book. You can go to the sentences before or after to look for clues. Now here's some special signal words you might find in a sentence. Words like called, or when they say something is or are, and then they give an explanation afterwards. Or sometimes in stories, writers will just use a comma and then they'll give a little definition of a word so that you can keep going. We're going to practice some of these context clues today. And then finally, there's prefixes and suffixes. We've worked a lot with root words, and you know prefixes like un means not in a word, or you probably have already learned that re at the beginning of a word means again. And then you've learned some suffixes like full means full of, like in the word colorful, or able can mean able to do, something that this suffix is tacked onto. So these context clues we're going to be practicing today. Now for today's lesson, I'm going to be reading a chapter to you, and you're going to actually need some Post-it notes and a pencil because you're going to be filling out some Post-it notes and putting them on a chart that I have near the front of the room. Okay, I think we might be ready to get started now. So, remember, we're going to be stopping every once in a while, and we're going to be writing on some Post-it notes. But we get to do it in Chapter 10 in the online book, which is called Reptiles, Cold-Blooded Scaly Vertebrates. Okay. You can follow along with me. I'm going to be reading this text that you see right in front of you. Here I go. Hello, boys and girls. As you can see, Anna Anaconda is our starting place for today's lesson. She is a green anaconda, one of the largest snakes in the world. When she unwinds, she is about as long as 6 of you stretched head to toe across the room. And she weighs about 500 pounds. That's more than about 8 of you put together. Anna Anaconda belongs to a group of animals that shares a lot of the same characteristics as the amphibians you learned about last time. Who knows the name of the group used by taxonomists to classify snakes? Yep, snakes are reptiles. Reptiles include crocodiles, alligators, lizards, turtles, and tortoises. But right now I want you to focus on one reptile only, Anna. It's no secret that she has a very high opinion of herself. She was quite fond of telling me so when I visited Peru. She thinks she's rather pretty, and I quite agree. In spite of her heavy body, Anna is a very good swimmer. Unlike some of her reptilian relatives, she is an aquatic snake, preferring swamps and rivers to land. Snakes often have a bad reputation. Some snakes are poisonous, releasing poisonous liquid called venom when they bite. Anna's teeth are actually quite small, and she is not venomous, so you need not worry about that. However, some people fear anacondas because they are members of a family of snakes called constrictors. Does anyone know what that means? Constrictors catch and kill their prey by coiling or wrapping around the prey and squeezing them very tightly. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. And boys and girls, I'm going to show you what I want you to do with those Post-it notes that I said you're going to need. Here's a little example of my desk. Well, it's not really my desk, but you get the idea. And I have 3 Post-it notes. On the first Post-it note, I'm going to write down a word that I heard or read that either I or someone else in the classroom may not know the definition of. I'm going to start with maybe, how about aquatic, just to give you an example. So on my first Post-it note, I'm going to write aquatic. A-Q-U-A-T-I-C. Now I want to find some clues from the text that I read about that go with the sentence aquatic. So I'm going to look back at my story, and I see aquatic right here in this paragraph on page 81. It says, in spite of her heavy body, Anna is a very good swimmer. Anna is a good swimmer. That's a clue as to what aquatic means. Unlike some of her reptilian relatives, she is an aquatic snake preferring swamps and rivers to land. Oh, okay. I know what I can put on the second Post-it note. I can write, Anna is a good swimmer. That's a clue. I could also write, swamps. And the other one was rivers, I think. So there were swamps, rivers. So I've got 3 clues here as to what aquatic means. I'm trying to figure out what aquatic means. My clues are Anna is a good swimmer, swamps, and rivers. Well, here's my prediction. I think aquatic must be having to do with water. That's a good enough prediction for now. Now here's where, when it comes time for you to start building your unknown words or context clues chart, here's where you're going to help the class. Post it up in front of the room. Like I said, I have a chart. There's a chart. On white paper, we've got unknown word, clues from the text, and predictions. You're going to be getting out of your seat with your Post-it notes and posting these Post-it notes on the chart so the whole class can share in your work of using context clues to figure out an unknown word. Okay, let's get back to the book and see if we can find some more unknown words. So I'm going to be reading this page, and there's a lot of words we don't know on here. And then I'm going to stop and ask you, did you hear any or read any words that you or someone else in the class may not know the definition of? And then we're going to use some more Post-it notes. Okay, so as I was reading, I left off with anaconda's jaws open so wide that they can swallow animals whole, fish, caiman, even jaguars and small deer. The anaconda's powerful muscles crush the bones of its prey as it constricts. Once swallowed, the anaconda slowly digests its meal. Uh-oh, some of you look fearful. Don't worry, you're safe. Anacondas don't live where you live in North America. You'll find them far, far away on the continent of South America. That's where I met Anna. Anna was sure to tell me that, as far as she knows, there is no documented record of an anaconda ever killing a man, woman, or child. She and all anacondas are nocturnal animals, and they hunt at night, eating frogs, toads, birds, fish, and turtles. She doesn't have to hunt very often because one animal will satisfy her appetite for a long time. Well, that's a lot of information about Anna's characteristics, the ways by which scientists classify her as belonging to the animal class called reptiles, or reptilia. Anna and other reptiles share some common characteristics with amphibians. Many scientists believe reptiles evolved from amphibians. Reptiles are all vertebrates because they all have backbones, and they are all cold-blooded because their internal temperatures change with their surroundings. Most reptiles can adjust their body temperatures by basking in the sun to stay warm or by hiding under a rock to stay cool. Just like amphibians, reptiles live on land and in water. However, these two groups do, of course, have their differences. Amphibians depend upon water to stay alive, much more so than reptiles. Amphibians' thin, wet, slimy skin needs moisture to absorb oxygen from the air. But reptiles' skin is waterproof. Unlike toads and salamanders, Anna and other reptiles do not breathe through their skin, which is hard, dry, and scaly. They use only their lungs to breathe air, which means they are able to withstand very harsh dry weather, conditions under which amphibians would not be able to survive. Of course, because they have lungs, this also means that reptiles cannot stay underwater very long without coming to the surface to breathe. Amphibians usually spend part of their lives entirely in water, but this is not true of reptiles as a group. Whereas amphibians begin life with gills, reptiles are born with lungs and are never dependent upon gills for breathing. Remember how different baby tadpoles looked from adult toads? This is not the case for reptiles. Baby reptiles usually look a lot like their parents. They do not undergo metamorphosis the way that amphibians do. Okay, boys and girls, I want you to get 3 Postit notes. You might have to ask me, or there might be some on your desk. And we're going to look for a word that we don't know here on the page. It could be, well, let's see. It could be the word reputation. Let's see. I saw the word reputation. Or it could be